Hello everyone and welcome to Career Talks by Council Co, where we have made an effort to turn your dreams into a reality and your aspirations into the truth that you would be following. Among a lot of people who are specialized in their field, as well as the new generation that's coming up and exploring different fields. And today we address the noble profession of medicine. So today we have with us Dr. Kunal Shah.
Hi.
And I'm really glad to call you a doctor today,
Thank
Kunal.
you so much for having me here.
Yeah, so Kunal, I would like you to tell our audience a little about you and your journey of medicine.
So I'm an intern doctor at HPT Medical College and Dr. R.N. Cooper Hospital. And I am in my intern year right now. That means I passed my final year in 2025. I gave the NEET 2020 entrance exam. And it was a very tough COVID phase. So our exam was postponed 3 times. So we had to really keep at it. Otherwise, even if you lose grip even once, I think we'll have to take a drop and do it another year because the competition is very tough. And I did my schooling. I passed my board exam from Jamnabai Nasi School in 2018. And I joined 11th and 12th coaching classes and passed NEET in my first attempt.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, Kunal, the entire process seems very intimidating, even when I'm listening to it right now. So, if you could shed light on how can a young person first determine whether they like the field of medical, and secondly, what is the process for them to make sure that it's not completely exhausting mentally for them?
Okay. So, firstly, I believe you need to be very sure of your purpose and why you actually want to get into medicine. So, the first and foremost thing is you should not be swayed away by looking at the glamour that the other doctors have. Like if you're going to a doctor for a surgery or just to a general practitioner and you're seeing, okay, he's sitting with you for 5 minutes and probably taking 500 rupees, 1000 rupees from you, and you love the glamour. Oh, it's easy money. So, firstly, that is not the perspective, that is the glamour aspect. You need to do it for passion.
Okay.
Because your first 10 years are going to be very different from what you see in private practice. So firstly, you need to speak to someone who has just given the NEET exam, who is getting into MBBS, and have a first-hand experience, a first-hand feedback as to what exactly is happening in a medical college. Only then you should make an informed decision. Post that, you should speak to an established surgeon, you should speak to an established doctor that, okay, 30 years down the line, my life would look like this. Would I really want my life to look like that? Because what people see is the glamour, the money, and all the perks and respect coming along with it, but they miss the hard work and the consistency that is needed to reach there. So that is the whole problem. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, Kunal, pursuing medical in India is often viewed to be a very challenging aspect.
Right.
Maybe because of the lack of admissions or the quotas, or even there could be the college student ratio, and it's extremely competitive. I mean, we've heard that, oh, for 1 mark, I did not get that particular college or I did not get a particular course. So, what has been your experience with regards to that?
So my personal experience, I got a score of 623 in the NEET exam, and at the score of 622, I would be out of Mumbai. So this has personally happened with me as well. I was at the edge, and I got Cooper Hospital in the round 2 of counseling. So this problem is pretty understandable, but how I take it is this has been the system all throughout, and I don't think we can change the system at all. We need to accept the fact and do our best, because sometimes these 1 mark, these things that are at the edge, they're not in your hands, and probably it's a calling from the universe for a bigger purpose, right? You put yourself out of the comfort zone, you put yourself out of your AC rooms, you put yourself out of your parents shelter, comfort and everything, and then people are doing really well. So one of my very close friends, he is in another city, and he's never stayed out of college. The same thing as me, I got lucky, he did not get lucky.
Right.
So after 5 years, I think he's more independent than me. He can do things, alone, and making own food, like getting your clothes done, getting everything sorted was like almost impossible when he looked at it. But then things make you very strong. So I think that's not an issue. because wherever life pushes you, you should just accept it happily. So these
Great.
1 mark things, 2 mark things, that's not in your control. You do your best. You do what's in your control.
Okay. So, because I'm at this question, there's one question that I really need to ask
Yeah.
you. As you said, it's tough. And sometimes you are given a college in a very remote area, which actually is taxing mentally also. Many youngsters now prefer to do it either in the UK or the US or maybe Australia. For the simple reason is that there's probably a easier chance of getting in into the university that you want, or it might be a little more better than the conditions in India, as well as the competition. What is your take on that? Is it really more easier abroad?
So for the MBBS course, it's definitely not easy abroad, because let me break it to you: US, UK, Australia, the countries that are mentioned, you do not get admission there. You get admission in countries like Russia, China, Ukraine, Kyrgyzstan, and Belarus, Georgia. So those are the countries you get admission in. Everybody goes the same mindset that, oh, it's going to be very rosy, it's going to be very easy, but it's not at all easy. In fact, the conditions are far worse there, because the people don't know English, you barely have any patient interaction, and there's still a lot of money flowing from your family's pocket. So it's not a very viable option. You may consider it in extreme cases, but it's always better to stay back in India and try another year for the entrance exam, because that is more worth it in my opinion. Because going there, it's already a longer course, it's already a 6-year course over there, or a 5-year course over there, and after coming back, to be eligible to practice in India, you have to give an exam, something called as an FMGE, Foreign Medical Graduate Entrance, and only after passing that are you eligible to do internship in India. The thing that I did, I passed final year, I immediately got into internship. It's not the case with them. They pass their final year in their country, but they also have to come back. They have to clear our Indian entrance exam, and the passing rate is very low.
Okay.
15 to 20% people pass, and the rest they're again giving another attempt after 6 months. So our course is 5.5 years, including internship. So 4.5 years of theory MBBS. There's a 6 years of theory MBBS. After that, you have to pass the FMGE exam. And if you don't pass it in the first attempt, you're already way behind in the academic curriculum.
Right.
So it may not be a very viable option. For post graduation, you can look at it. Like there are options, but again, in the US, you don't have the freedom to choose your own field,
Right.
because they only give you 3 or 4 branches which are not in demand in the US. So psychiatry, family medicine, internal medicine, and I think pediatrics. So these are the 4 branches which are most commonly sought of. The surgical branches, they're not really going to give you the surgical branches, because they are too high in demand. And orthopedic surgery, for example, only 2 people from the entire world who are non-US IMGs, that is non-US medical graduates, they got orthopedic surgery. So it's that tough. Out of how many ever applicants that were there, only 2 people all over the world. Now we're talking about Chinese students, now we're talking about Indian students, we're talking about Pakistani students, we're talking about Sri Lankan students, Nepali students, all of them want to go to the US. There is a lot of money indeed, but not much freedom to choose your stream. And again, if you want to do something entrepreneurial, like in India, if I want to set a 100-bed hospital tomorrow, I can take the necessary permissions and I can start. In the US, I don't have the liberty to do that. I have to work in their hospital, I have to work in their setup, and I also have to wait in line for their visa. So that is something that has its pros and cons. You can also take your family along after you have your green card. So if you are someone who is pretty family bound, it's better to stay in India.
Okay. So I think even considering the current political scenario,
Yep.
India seems to be
100%,
quite a safe and
100%.
viable option right now.
100%.
Okay. So what advice would you give somebody who is looking to pursue this? I am sure you've shed light that, okay, it's not a rosy picture at all. But what is some advice that you would give students, either with respect to how they should study or with respect to what they should keep in mind?
Okay, so if you're in your entrance exam phase, like you've completed your 10th standard and you're sure that I want to do MBBS, I want to do medicine. So now you take admission in a coaching class for your NEET preparation, And you need to be very consistent with your work. After 2-3 months of prep, you need to start giving tests every Sunday, and on the basis of those tests you should analyze what's going wrong. And once you realize that you're not supposed to make those mistakes again and again, and you have to keep revising, you have to be consistent with your effort, you have to be consistent with the MCQ solving, because it's an MCQ solving approach. It is not a theoretical exam, so it's either 1 or 0. Either you know it or you don't know it. The thing is, the options are sometimes so close that you need clarity of thought, and without clarity of thought, it's impossible to crack the entrance exam. And as you said, these 1, 1, 2, 2 marks, what actually matters at the end is how much effort you've taken all throughout. So all these tests, all the mistakes that you made, all the silly mistakes that you call it, the calculation error or everything, all of that has to be avoided at the day of the exam. So my advice is just to be consistent, to be honest with your hard work, and everything else will fall into place. Just put in your effort and give it all.
Right. So when I hear you, obviously you require the brains, no doubt about that. But there are a skill set that you require or inherent qualities that you need to develop if you're going to pursue this field, which is extremely demanding. So one you said was consistency.
Yep.
What are the skills or qualities that somebody, when I recognize that, okay, they might have this kind of a mindset to follow medical, what kind of qualities need to be imbibed or need to be developed to ensure that they can successfully pursue this career?
Got it. I'll have to answer this question. So the first and foremost thing that a medical student should have is a no give up attitude, because things are going to be thrown at you right, left and center. You have to sit at it, you have to tolerate all the blows and come out stronger. So someone who you think is an inherent fighter, or who has the spirit to fight till the end and be the last man standing, I think it's perfect for them, because we really need such doctors in India who can fight for you till the end, and that's the attitude that we want in our Indian doctors. So I think fighting till the end and being mentally very strong is what is needed.
Right.
Yeah. Brains, intelligence definitely comes a long way. You definitely need to develop strategies for smart work and getting things done the right way. But I feel the fighting attitude is more important than any amount of intelligence, any amount of IQ, any amount of brains.
Okay. So I think what we realize when we listen to you is consistency, not giving up,
Yep.
a continuous focus and being at it,
Yep.
irrespective of what comes away, and mental strength play a huge part in being a successful doctor.
Absolutely.
So when we were talking, you were talking about how in the US you do not get your desired specialization. But what we have heard is that post-graduation in India is also not a joke. You do not get the specialization that you want. Many of the colleges have only 1 or 2 seats, which are also sometimes reserved for a particular class or maybe some people, right? So keeping that in mind, I am sure that without a PG, just being a normal MBBS is not going to work any longer. What can the aspiring doctors keep in mind or ensure that, okay, I'm going to get the desired seat, or what if they don't get it?
Right. Okay. Let's take it stepwise. You rightly shed light on the reservation being very high and there being less seats for post graduation. That is a problem itself. I myself am going to give my NEET PG entrance exam next year. I'm going to go through the same problem. But what I feel is, you need to put your effort, you need to put in all the hard work that you can and give your best shot. The results are anyway not in your hand. So by bothering much about how much reservation is there, we already know the rules of the game. And after knowing the rules of the game, we've entered it. We've cleared one entrance exam with the same rules. Now we have to give another entrance exam with the same rules. So I think the less you get disappointed and you bother about all these things and have confidence in yourself, I think things will work out eventually at the end. Definitely things are tough. Only motivation does not work. We have to be realistic. Now what if you don't clear your entrance exam in the first attempt? By not clearing, it doesn't mean you fail an exam. You may not get the desired branch. You may get your desired branch, but you may not get your desired city. Like if I'm getting a surgical branch that I want, but I'm getting it in some interior of Maharashtra, uh, I may or may not want it. I may go ahead with it, or I may want to give another attempt for it. So it's completely a person's choice, and there are different courses like DNB, which is equivalent to MD and MS. So that is always an option for you. So those the seats are increasing for MDMS, for DNB, but definitely it is a problem. It's not so easy. But I'll tell you the advantage. If you land a PG seat in India, you get so much patient exposure. I think a European doctor or an American doctor may have seen these patients in 10 years, which you're just going to see in 1 year. So that's the footfall that we have in India, and that's the amount of experience that you actually get. So that is one point. And about the entrepreneurial aspect, if you want to set up your own hospital, I think there's no better time than right now to build something in India, because in the other countries you're going to be in the line for your visa for 5 years or 10 years. So forget starting your own thing. Plus, in a country like UK where everything is under the government, there is no possibility of starting your own sort of setup, which is possible in India.
Okay. So keeping us in mind the kind of aspects and fields that are opening up or options that are opening up, you would say that it is doable and it's okay to fail.
Yeah, it's always okay to fail, because that needs to be normalized. Because in countries like Germany, in countries like France, people just take gap years in their careers. They travel for a year, they are enjoying. So why the pressure in our country to have everything as per our timeline, everything perfectly? So there is too much pressure. That is social pressure from parents, and the parents put this pressure because of family. When they constantly ask, oh, what is your son doing? In which year is your son? And has he cleared his exams? How is everything going? Just because people are so bothered about what the other person is doing, Indians feel the pressure of delivering every time. And once they don't do it, they feel like, okay, I have failed miserably, which I don't think is the case. I don't think it makes any sense.
Right.
So everyone has their own timeline. So I give you this very simple example. When MS Dhoni was playing under 19 World Cup, he had to wait for 5 years to enter the Indian team. Whereas his counterpart Yuvraj Singh, he entered immediately. So was it like MS Dhoni doesn't know how to play cricket? But he had to go through all that 5 years of struggle to be the Indian captain, to win us the World Cup in 2011.
That's an amazing example, and I think it makes it so much more relatable right now. That it's each one's journey is separate.
Absolutely.
Right? And you will reach where you're supposed to reach
Yep.
if you keep at it. Okay. So tell me, when we think about medical as a field, there are long hours of work. Maybe you're, then studying, and then your rural experience, and a delayed ROI. As you said, at least 10 years is something that you should look at if you're seeing the rosy picture.
Yep.
So, in this entire process, you said that your skill or your thing is having the mental fortitude and the never giving attitude, never give up attitude to make sure that you succeed. Other than this, I think these are also challenges, but another challenge is, I think, recognition or being known. As you said, you need to find a mentor, or you need to get in touch with people, which is why do you think that even networking is something that one needs to be at, which I'm sure not many people connect to medical.
Right. So I completely understand this question, because when you're using so much of your brains into your duties, like your 12-hour shifts, and into seeing patients all day, you don't really have the energy or the will left to speak to anyone else apart from that. But I think that's where the game changes.
Okay.
So you can grow successful and you can create an impact just by being around the right people. So I have connected with different IAS officers, MPs, MLAs, industrialists, NGO founders, and I have interesting conversations with them, because I love to speak to people. I love to know perspectives. I love to understand how the world works. Because when you're a doctor, you're using too much of your brain into your field, and you think you're the most intelligent person in the world, and there is no one more intelligent than you. That superiority complex always comes. But when you look at people doing things around you, you actually realize that the world is much bigger than your hospital. The world is much bigger than how you are perceiving it to be. So having a multi-centric perspective is super important. And at the end of the day, if you're connected to the right people, you can get anything done. For example, I got in touch with the district governor of Seattle.
Okay.
So I had a conversation with him about how things work in his country and how things work in our country. So I learned something about a software, an HMIS software, which he mentioned about, and I saw that it can be implemented in our hospitals over here. So things like those are really really important, because you get to learn more and you get to apply things to your own life. Yeah.
Great. So, having said that, I think you said that there's some technology and we were just having a conversation,
Yeah.
and we realized that technology is also very important part, like be it a part of robotic surgery or even a virtual surgery for that matter. And it's not, is it covered with your medical curriculum, or it's a skill that you need to develop on the side?
Yeah, so very interesting question. It's definitely not covered with our medical curriculum. So your curriculum teaches you things that are very standard, and we read from standard textbooks, which has been the curriculum since more than 50 years or 70 years. But what I feel is that to have the X factor, you need to get these things done on your own. For example, I did an observership at Nanavati Hospital. I assisted as a second assist in robotic orthopedic surgery in joint replacement. There was a Stryker Mayo robot which comes for like $2 million, and that setup can only be possible in a corporate hospital or a very big hospital for that matter. So that gave me the perspective, that gave me the experience that our healthcare is fantastic, and these things are being used in our setups, and there is a lot of future. That is not a part of your curriculum, that is not taught to you in MBBS, but these opportunities come to you only via networking.
Okay, so that's great. So I think you have rightly shared the importance of not only being in your field but having a multifaceted outlook,
100%.
because it gives you opportunities,
Yeah.
and that helps you grow in your field. Okay, I have perceived medical to be quite a mentally exhausting and a physically exhausting space, because you are at it, you do not have immediate returns, so there's no instant gratification. How do you cope up with this, be it your long hour of studies or internship or even your training that you are doing?
Right. So I would love to play sports. I would love to hang out with my friends. I would love to go for weekend getaways. But all of that is not possible because I'm working 12 hours every day, and I'm probably sleeping whenever I have an off day, right? So all of these things I have to sacrifice in my early 20s. Probably I may get to do all of this later, but as of now, I can't really afford to do any of this in my internship here or probably even in residency. But I have a very close set of friends and we talk every day. So that is a very good detox, to have the right set of people around you. And if you've cracked that, I think everything is easy after that. You need the correct set of people and you need that support. So I think all of my friends, all of my family, I think that's been fantastic. So I have a solid support system that pulls me through this.
Okay.
And I'm a very positive person always. Like if you throw a challenge at me, I'll just smile and be like, okay, we got this. It's fine.
Okay, great. So I think your attitude
Yeah.
is something that
Yeah.
really keeps you going. And rather than that, so important to either have a small circle of
Yeah.
people who are going to be your therapy, otherwise you will need therapy.
Absolutely.
That brings me to my most important and probably the question that I kept for last, is being a first generation doctor seems to be quite a challenge. So can you shed light on how you have addressed it, and what is something that you've come across whilst you are a first generation? What are your challenges?
Okay. So, firstly, this is a very common question. This is a very understandable question that, okay, I don't have backup. How am I going to get things done? How am I going to enter the field where there are already 3 generations of people being doctors, having a setup with a 100-bed hospital, a 200-bed hospital? But I feel there is no excitement in having something that is already built, right? So everyone has the competitive advantage, everyone has their own stories, everyone has their own backups in their own way. maybe someone has more intelligence, maybe someone has more money. So you can't find equity or equality in everything. So what you can trust is your hard work. What you can trust is your spirit of fighting and staying on till the end and not bothering about all of these things. So 80 or 90% rather, students in my college, they're first generation doctors,
Oh.
and they're all coming from very humble backgrounds. So I have one friend whose family does farming in their village. He comes here, he studies with 2 books in the library, he does odd jobs, and he sends back money home. So he has no excuses saying that, oh, I'm not a doctor who has a legacy, right? So it's so difficult for me. People are fighting till the end, people are working really hard. And if you really want things so easy, and if the world starts thinking that, oh, I don't have any parental setup, oh, I don't have any backup, there will be no Dhirubhai Ambanis, there will be no Gautam Adanis in our
True.
country. We need them more. We need more Gautam Adanis. We need people who are fighting till the end. We need doctors who fight for you till the end. So I think it's all about the spirit, and it's not about the backup that you have. If you have a backup, well and good, respect it, and probably move forward. I personally, I don't have a backup. I'm going to start from zero, and I'm very excited for what comes ahead.
Oh, wow. So, this was a truly inspiring conversation for me, especially Kunal, in the sense that there are so many people like you who are there to make a difference, who've made their passion their life.
Yep.
And it has to be a passion with the amount of work that you're saying that's there. So, I'm so glad you were here today. Your amazing insights, I'm sure, have been very helpful to
Thank you.
others. And we also hope that this podcast has really helped you to realize that medical is a profession, it's a passion, it's a service, but it's also something that you can excel at if you have a never give up attitude. So thank you so much for viewing our podcast. We look forward to your comments, and we're always here to answer your questions. So thank you so much, and thank you, Kunal,
Thank you for calling
for
me.
being here with us today.
Thank you.